got a lot of Miami Heat updates and rumors with free agency continuing on here. Day 2. I'm Nick Roloff. This episode is presented by Prize Picks. We got an update on Duncan Robinson. Doesn't sound like he'll be joining Miami in this upcoming offseason. And we got the latest rumors on LeBron, Anfernee Simons, Bradley Beal. Make sure you follow me over on X, by the way, because, listen, we put out as many videos as possible. But if you want 365, 24/7 coverage on the Miami Heat, you got to go follow me over on Twitter. My handle, @Nick_Roloff. So the update on Duncan Robinson. I don't think he's getting waived, folks. After the signing of John Collins this morning, people believe that due to their salary implications, they would be waiving Duncan Robinson. Haynes said, contrary to speculation, that ain't going to happen. And we got more updates on why. Brett Siegel noted, and was actually the first to say, that John Collins' 3-year, $51 million deal he signed with Detroit is actually going to be a sign-and-trade with the Clippers. Now, details have not been announced there, but because it ends up being a sign-and-trade, they will no longer need to clear cap space to bring him in, which is why Duncan Robinson likely will be staying. Now, hypothetically, Miami could still trade for Duncan Robinson this offseason, but that remains incredibly unlikely. Duncan making $16 million this year, unless Miami is able to somehow convince the Pistons to trade Duncan Robinson for Nikola Jovic straight up, there's really no shot that you bring Duncan into this roster because it would be way too much money financially, and I don't see the Pistons swapping Duncan for Jovic because obviously Duncan is much more useful to a team trying to contend. I also wanted to recap all the moves that happened since we filmed and put out our video earlier this morning. Saw Mike Conley go to Boston. Pretty excited about that. I did not want him to come to Miami, so no Mike Conley for the Heat. You got a plethora of signings from the Lakers. Mitchell Robinson also went to the Celtics. Quinn Grimes off the board for Miami as he signed a 4-year, $60 million deal with the Lakers. Mamu goes to the Lakers. He was a target in my eyes, no longer. And then the one that's probably the most noteworthy for Miami is that Colin Sexton signed a 2-year, $19 million deal. Also joined the Lakers. He was in that same grouping of Sexton, Beal, and Simons as that scoring two-guard in the backcourt. Well, that might tell you where it might go financially for Anfernee Simons in free agency, but it will not be Colin Sexton joining the Miami Heat. And then to round out today, Cal Oubre went to Indiana. Tobias Harris goes to San Antonio. Jackson Hayes goes to Utah. None of those really have any impact on the Heat. They weren't really linked to any of them. But I did want to bring up every signing that happened since we made our video this morning. And as we look forward to the rumors now on the rest of this episode, I want everyone to remember where things stand after signing Tim Hardaway Jr. last night. We have 2 roster spots open, 2 more to fill, and $9.1 million to spend. So as right now, before any other moves, the Heat have $6.5 million non-taxpayer mid-level they could still use, and a $2.5 million vet mid. That's where the Heat stand. But let me know, who do you want the Heat to sign next in free agency? Is it a guy like LeBron? Is it a guy like Bradley Beal? Is it a guy like Anfernee Simons? We'll talk about some of those names here throughout the rest of the episode. Dan Le Batard sparked rumors today saying that the LeBron thing to Miami is real. They've got a plan around Giannis that's about this year, noting, hey, just stay patient. July 6th, this upcoming Monday, the Giannis trade becomes official. That's the new league year. The Heat may have something cooking because this isn't the first person around Miami and the Heat media to suggest that moves may be coming on or before July 6th this Monday when the league year begins. Because yes, the Giannis trade does become official, but it's also the deadline, if you will, for Miami to expand the deal, whether it's to include Jovic or move Bobby Portis to a third team. And any of those moves would create more flexibility for Miami. Ethan Skolnick, 5 Reasons Sports Network, has put it on Twitter, put it on their Discord. For those concerned about the Heat's financials and roster, it's not July 6th yet. So we've got multiple people connected in Miami talking about wait till July 6th, wait till July 6th. I don't know if anything happens. It could be inferring to LeBron. It could be inferring to other things. I'll add this, though, before we move on and talk about Prize Picks, our sponsor. If they don't do anything, they're setting themselves up for a kind of troll job. And it's not me flaming them because they've had a phenomenal offseason so far getting Giannis and Tim Hardaway, but you can't put this out there about July 6th, July 6th, July 6th, and then nothing actually happens. Moving on, before we do that, though, we're talking about Prize Picks, the number one daily fantasy sports app in America. Get started today. Get $50 in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. Join me and the rest of the Chat Sports crew right now, and you can get $50 in lineups. How about that, folks? You got the World Cup tonight. I mean, it's going to be a lot of fun to get on the action there. You got Pulisic. You've got USA. You've got Bosnia. Tomorrow, you've got Argentina. You've got Messi. And with the World Cup raging on, they're going to continue to give you discounted projections every single day. There's a max discount on PrizePicks right now. More on Christian Pulisic, half a passes attempted. I already had an entry in that is 1-for-1. Harry Kane, he scored 2 goals today. So I just need Pulisic to have a goal or an assist tonight to cash in this $10 lineup to win $26. There's also a max discount for Joey Chestnut this Saturday, half a hot dog eaten in the contest. How about that? Join me over on PrizePicks. Download the app. Use code HMA to get $50 in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. That is code HMA to get $50 in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. Links in the description and comments of today's show. Appreciate PrizePicks for sponsoring the episode. I wanted to kick it over to Charania now, who said this morning on Get Up, or I forget what TV show it was, but referring to LeBron. And Rich Paul, his agent, got pitches from about a dozen teams when free agency opened up with offers and proposals on what it would look like for LeBron to come to their team. LeBron wants to go somewhere where it's a chance at a championship, something he felt was not going to be keeping him happy if he stayed in LA. Whether you have a minimum, an exception, cap space, you're going to be involved. When I talk to teams around the league, the 3 that jump out for LeBron, the Warriors, Heat, and Cavaliers. To me, I think it's going to either be Miami or Golden State. And you see it here. It really doesn't matter what you do with LeBron because it's not financially motivated. It isn't. He is likely entering the final year of his career. There's a report out there, a rumor from Kevin O'Connor, that there's going to be a docuseries on this season for LeBron, which could only mean it's his final season, you would imagine. Maybe he announces it before the year, maybe he doesn't. But if you're having a documentary crew follow you around, I'm imagining it's your last season. And it just makes too much sense to either go to Golden State and team up with Steph Curry or go to Miami, team up with Giannis and Bam, somewhere you won 2 titles, and make one more push at it in an Eastern Conference where you don't have to battle against the Spurs and Thunder. Yeah, it's going to be a freaking gladiator match in the Eastern Conference this year, but it ain't going to be San Antonio or OKC. So that's why I think it's one of these 2 teams. Obviously, Golden State, limited financially. Miami, limited financially. But, as we already noted, it's not going to really matter because he's fine taking the vet min as long as he's happy, he's in a spot that he wants to be, and that team is capable of winning. Heck, Rich Paul even said on his podcast with Max Kellerman, as long as they've got indoor and outdoor golf. LeBron's a golf guy. Honestly, he's just like me. All he cares about is golf and ball. Maybe LeBron is a billionaire. Maybe he's got 4 titles. Second or best greatest player of all time. But when you boil down to what matters most to LeBron, it's family, golf, and playing ball. Sounds like me. Sounds like me. Only LeBron will know where he ultimately wants to go. I'm not going to try to predict it. I don't think any of these other people know. So I'm not really going to waste my time trying to make any predictions. I think it's either Golden State or Miami, and he's just going to have to decide between those 2 teams on where he ultimately wants to play, potentially his final year. Make sure you subscribe today because we're going to have you covered every single day with Miami Heat content, whether it's free agency rumors, trade rumors, or when we're in the season and we're talking major stuff with actual games happening. Make sure you subscribe right now. All right, another interesting update today from Chris Haynes. He mentioned that the Grizzlies and KCP are on the verge of working out a parting resolution, whether it is a trade or him being bought out, waived and stretched, and going into free agency. I'll tell you what, he is certainly not going to be traded because I don't know who could possibly want his $20 million contract. I'll make note, KCP is a Rich Paul client. Why does that matter? Well, obviously, LeBron, Rich Paul, and you'd imagine KCP might try to get LeBron or Rich Paul might try to get LeBron and KCP to the same team. Now, he had an incredible stint with the Nuggets and the Lakers, which is why he got a 3-year, $60 million contract from the Orlando Magic. But it was a disaster, and he was traded in the Desmond Bane deal last offseason. And he really hasn't been the same since the good couple runs with the Denver Nuggets. Shooting below 35% from three, below 45% from the field. Now, I'll say, like, it's not great, and I'm not going to prioritize getting KCP, but he's another shooter that you can add to your bench. And he's someone that LeBron has played with. He's won a title with KCP. It's someone that he might enjoy playing basketball with. It's a familiar face in the locker room. It's a player that he has chemistry with. So if your last 2 roster spots end up being LeBron for $6 million and KCP for the vet min after a buyout, that's one heck of a way to end your offseason, in my opinion. Because you'd probably start LeBron, maybe Hardaway or KCP. I think LeBron becomes your point guard. So maybe it's LeBron, Shooter, Wiggins, Bam, Giannis. With, just say it's Hardaway. KCP, Larson, Davion, Portis off the bench. It's a team that could go to war and win in the Eastern Conference. Be the GM for me. If you got LeBron, just already say you have him. Would you sign KCP with that final roster spot? Let me know. Type Y for yes or N for no. Rounding out the show with the latest on Bradley Beal and Anfernee Simons, because these two guys have been linked to Miami. I know there's a lot of interest from Heat fans. I've been a big proponent of going to sign Anfernee Simons, and I would even go as far to say, if you told me right now I could get LeBron on a 1-year deal or Anfernee Simons on a 1-year deal, I would choose Simons because I think he is a better fit. I'm not saying he's better than LeBron. LeBron is infinitely better than Simons. But I think Simons is a better fit in Miami. I know people might call me crazy for that, but I'm going to stand 10 toes down on that idea. Well, Ethan Skolnick put this on his Discord page when talking about Simons, is that I have not been told about no on Anfernee Simons from people I talked to around the Miami Heat. So it's clearly a name that they are pursuing and interested in adding over the next week and a half. You also back that up with Jake Fisher today on his Bleacher Report stream saying the Warriors and Heat remain in the mix for Anfernee Simons. I don't know anything. I am willing to go on record here and put a prediction down that whoever gets LeBron between these two teams, if he does go to either Miami or Golden State, the other gets Simons. That's how I see this going. Warriors get LeBron, Simons coming to Miami in a 1-year, $6.5 million deal. If the Heat get LeBron, well, Simons going to Golden State to be the backcourt partner with Curry, Jimmy, Dre, and whatever they got over there. Just a prediction from me. On Bradley Beal, Barry Jackson, in Twitter replies, after hearing a lot of people linked, said, I asked an associate about Heat and Beal. His response is, we'll see. The Heat would be an interesting spot. So certainly not ruling out the possibility of the Heat signing Bradley Beal on the vet min. I'll add Jake Fisher on that same Bleacher Report stream that he mentioned Simons, said that the team that we hear the most on Bradley Beal is Miami. I'm not going to say that they're going to sign Bradley Beal. I do think he's a fallback option. Now, this is a little contradictory to what I just said, but I do think Bradley Beal is the third option for Miami. If they miss out on LeBron goes to Golden State, and they don't get Simons and he gets a bigger contract for like $11, $12 million elsewhere, well, then I think they fall back and try to get Bradley Beal on the vet min or a $5 million contract. I only think we sign Bradley Beal if we miss out on Simons and LeBron. I think the Heat prioritize LeBron Simons, and they should prioritize those two. Without Sexton, Beal falls in to number 3 on my list of options for the Heat backcourt as creators and playmakers behind Simons and LeBron. Make sure you subscribe, because not only will we have you covered on Twitter, we'll have you covered here on YouTube. When the Heat make a move, we have you covered. Subscribe for daily content.